all of the activity around the Celtics at the trade deadline. My name is Mike Petralia, joined courtside here by Chris Grenham. All right, the big news not made by the Celtics, not surprisingly, but rather two of their competitors, the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers, really loading up. Brad Stevens says before Thursday night's game here with the Lakers that, look, we knew they were going to be tough going in, and it was going to be a challenge. It certainly is going to be that much more of a challenge with them making moves.
I mean, yeah, the Sixers, if you include that Jimmy Butler trade earlier in the season, they acquired Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris at the trade deadline. I mean, come on, that's incredible. And they got a protected first-round pick back and finally shipped Markelle Fultz out of town. So that was kind of hanging over them. So I think that is a huge win alone. And, of course, Marc Gasol getting shipped to Toronto for DeLon Wright, C.J. Miles, and Jonas Valanciunas. Marc Gasol's a smart, good big man. I mean, he can help any team. Valanciunas has been out for the last couple months with a finger injury, so I think Marc Gasol is going to help that team, loads going forward.
I really think in this case, the Celtics knew what they had coming into the trade deadline. We all know the well-documented deal with Anthony Davis. He could not be traded for and acquired by the Celtics because of the Derrick Rose deal, because of, obviously, Kyrie Irving.
Right. And, I mean, people don't really realize that it was a quiet deadline. Of course, the Celtics shipped out Jabari Bird. They finally moved on from that. But the fact of the matter is Anthony Davis didn't get traded today. That is a win for the Celtics. The Celtics are now in the sweepstakes. They're now in the game. They were the outsiders looking in, with their hands on the glass crying because everyone was in on the party and they were outside. Now they're in on the party. So him, making it through the deadline, still in a Pelicans uniform, even though he might not play, that's a win for the Celtics. That's a big win.
All right, this Garden Report is brought to you by the great folks at betonline.ag. Go to clnsmedia.com/win and use the promo code CLNS50 for a 50% discount on your buy-in. Again, go to clnsmedia.com/win and use the promo code CLNS50. All right, there were some reports with that roster spot now open for the Celtics. The name Enes Kanter came up. Well, what can you tell us?
I've heard from a couple people around the league and people around the Celtics that that's not a good matchup. They don't really like him coming in. His defensive game concerns me, and I'm assuming that's what concerns other people. He's going to be on the expensive side as well. And also, the Celtics don't have minutes to give around, and that's also what I heard. Enes Kanter is going to want to go to a place where he can play. He can't play here, and the Celtics have that mid-level exception that they're going to try and use, which means whoever they bring in is not going to get a ton of minutes, but they're going to bring him in on a 2-year contract. Enes Kanter is not going to be looking for a 2-year deal. He's going to be looking for that rental type thing where he finishes the season potentially with a playoff team, goes back into the free agency market this summer, and that just doesn't work out here in Boston.
And you got to like the way Aaron Baines is playing.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, if he comes back healthy, of course he's injured right now until the All-Star break, but you don't need another big like Kanter who's going to want to play 15-plus minutes a game. You just don't need that.
And Baines knows the system. That's the whole point.
Right. In my opinion, the ideal candidate where Wes Matthews is already off the market, he's most likely going to go to the Indiana Pacers. He was bought out by the New York Knicks. But a guy like Wayne Ellington, who's going to be highly sought after, but if you get a wing like that who can come in and shoot, he's going to be cool with playing potentially 10 minutes or less a game. He's not going to be a guy who can come in and steal minutes from someone. That's an ideal candidate for the Celtics.
So you think that the Celtics are still very well positioned despite the moves by Toronto and Philadelphia?
Correct. People are going to look at this buyout market and say, well, there's a lot of big names. You can go out and grab someone like an Enes Kanter, but that's not the point. There's not a lot of minutes to go around with the Celtics team. Honestly, with this mid-level exception, it gives them a chance to have a leg up in the Anthony Davis sweepstakes because they can double down on that mid-level exception and trade that salary out, which gives them a matching. It's a lot of salary terminology being thrown around here, but they can match that salary in the offseason, which gives them a leg up in a potential Anthony Davis trade.
All right, Brad Stevens before Thursday night's game saying, yes, we were all around the TV watching, making sure that the 3 p.m. deadline passed and the end of the NBA world didn't arrive. It did not. We still play basketball. And he said it's not a big deal for the coaches, certainly for the players and on social media, Twitter and whatnot. It's a bigger deal to them, and you understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. You can't go on Twitter, you can't go on Instagram without hearing about trade rumors, potential guys being dealt here, and especially with the Lakers, who we got warming up behind us. They were in the talk. I mean, they were all over the place, and they had a couple guys get shipped to their neighbors, the Clippers, today. But either way, they kind of stood pat. Celtics stood pat. But overall, a win for the Celtics today. Jabari Bird off the books, a roster spot opened up, and Anthony Davis is in play this summer.
Be sure to follow us all post-trade deadline season long on clnsmedia.com. Of course, follow our Celtics coverage and the great Chris Grenham and Jeff Goodman on Twitter at Celtics CLNS. Inside TD Garden, for Chris Grenham, I'm Mike Petralia, CLNS Media.